Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Capron Asia's In Conversation With, where we speak to some of the leading fintech practitioners across the Asia-Pacific region. My name is Zenon Capron, and over the next few minutes, we'll be chatting with David Jimenez. David is the Chief Experience Officer and Deputy CEO at TNEX by MSB. David, thanks for taking the time today. It's great to have you with us. Vietnam is a very exciting market with really a lot of digital savvy consumers, whether they be millennials or the older generation. Could you tell me a little bit more about how TNEX has developed in the market?
Sure. First, thanks, Shannon, for inviting me. It's a privilege and honor to be here with you. Yeah, let's kick things off. So Vietnam, it's amazing country. It's a 99 million population where the average age is 33. Where we have more mobile phone subscribers than population, where 97% of the customers, they have a smartphone. And when we launched TNEX, it was not a single data-only bank in Vietnam. So we realized that our customer that as an average, they spend 6 hours and 38 minutes, they can't do everything but banking. So it was, we saw a clear opportunity of what TNEX can, step into the market and what is the business proposition. As we have seen in other markets, there is an ability for digital banks to acquire new customers using digital channels and not rely anymore on branches. Where 69% of the population in Vietnam, they don't have a bank account due to, they don't have access to branches, they don't trust banks, they charge high fees. We came into the market with a very different proposition. We wanted to do something good for Vietnamese people, that they can open a bank account in literally less than 5 minutes. They don't need to go to any branch. They can request a physical debit card and they can see their banking activities in a very simple and seamless user experience. We didn't want to include any fancy terms, but simple and banking terms, so our customers can understand how much money they can spend every day and what are they doing when topping up their phones or when they're paying bills. So we wanted to do something different where our values are fully aligned with our customers. We are not trying to make money off our customers. We're trying to build something that is sustainable, but is helping our customers and focusing on our customers' problems instead of selling banking products.
That's really interesting. I mean, Vietnam not entirely dissimilar to other markets around Southeast Asia where financial inclusion is a challenge. But as you mentioned, I mean, you need to be almost digital first in these markets because that's where the consumers are. And creating that seamless customer experience is probably very important to the bank and to yourself as well in your role. Why have traditional banks really struggled to hit that mark in a place like Vietnam where, it is obvious that digital needs to be the place that they are?
Yes and no. I think when you're coming from a digital background, it's very easy to answer that. But if you understand, the market situation, the market conditions, you can realize quickly that most of the traditional banks, more the incumbent banks, are very profitable. They keep working on this branch network model where, I open more branches, therefore I get more business. And it's, with the interest spread that they have between deposits and their lending side, it's a very profitable business. So you have to do really, really bad when you're getting 5-6% on term deposits. And I know we can make your bank very profitable. There is one strategy. Second, you're gonna see, legacy technology. Most of the banks in not only Vietnam but in Southeast Asia, they have an average of 18 years old. So most of the core banking system in Vietnam are very old. very based on on-premise capabilities, not scalable, very spaghetti, and they have include a lot of things. So in our case, we're the first bank in Vietnam to deploy Mambu core banking system, the first bank to use AWS as our cloud infrastructure. Those are the things that most of the banks they cannot. Digital for them is another channel, but the main channel, and that's something that most of the banks that even in Europe and the US have struggled, is how to turn your branch network model and make the digital channel as profitable. Incumbent banks are really good, and they have been really good at selling and cross-selling and acquiring customers in a limited way. With digital, they just they didn't know how to do it. They don't know how to replicate a model where they absolutely know every single customers, and they do campaigns, and they're very successful. But the problem that we have seen in Southeast Asia in the last few years is banks are still focusing on selling the products instead of selling what are the problems that they're solving. And that's why we have seen the rise of super apps, of embedded finance solutions all over, because to be honest, and it's one of the things that with TNEX we focus, is customers, they don't care about banking products. Banking products is something that they need to have in order to fulfill their needs. So when we're focusing on customer experience, most of the banks they're focusing are gonna sell a loan. In our case, I want to tell my customers what they want that loan for. Okay, I want a loan to buy a new motorbike. So we're more focusing on the second part of the sentence than in the first one, because when you're still focusing on the banking products, you're missing 95% of the picture. What are the customers? What are the customer needs? What is the situation? What is the lifestyle needs? What are the habits? What are the behavioral finds that our customers are using? So they're missing a lot of things, and that's why tech conglomerates are being the ones launching massive and very profitable digital challenger banks all over Southeast Asia, and that's why we have seen massive SPAC IPOs of super apps popping up everywhere in Southeast Asia, because customers are they want to get an app to solve their needs, and that's something that banks is still focusing only on banking products, when the new generation and this is why the rise of the middle class in Southeast Asia is customers, they're looking for lifestyle experiences, lifestyles brands that are aligned with their values, that they get the product only when they need, and not this is the quarterly goal for the bank. We need to sell now insurance, now we need to sell and secure loans, and the third one is the pricing model. It's very hard for a bank to acquire customers, and that's why most of the banks have been doing nothing too little to battle the inclusion part in Southeast Asia. And that's why not only in Vietnam, but Malaysia, Laos, Indonesia, we have very high number of underbanked and unbanked population where they have very limited banking products, and most of the traditional banks have been focusing on the mass and mass affluent customers. Why? Because there are customers that they have a lot of revenue potential, but there are only a few. So once you get those customers, it's very profitable for them. In our case, we did the other way around. It's like we're not focusing on the margin for each customers. We're working with very tiny margins, but we're looking for very huge volume. In under 1 year, we managed to get 500,000 customers. we're looking to accelerate the growth in the next 2-3 years. And we have done this only with 110 employees instead of 5,000 or 7,000 people that you will need to get the same number of customers in a traditional bank.
It's fantastic. So much to unpack there. Just focusing in on the customers and kind of understanding the customers. I think one of the trends certainly that we saw in 2021 was this idea of hyper personalization. Selling to an audience of one. How does TNEX do that? I mean, now, because it's much more than just personas, right? I mean, you really need to understand the customers. How, presumably leveraging technology to do that. How does TNEX approach that?
So let's be open and honest. Everyone, they want to feel special, and our customers are not different than any other. We have seen how other brands and other apps have raised the bar in terms of personalization. All of us can recall, our experience where we use Spotify or we use Netflix. Every time we open that up, we see that our recommendation it's completely different if you're Monday morning or a Sunday afternoon. And this is why, our customers are demanding, and that's why we are working towards that. For the time being, we have done very little things that we're working, and we are the first bank to deploy a CDP, a customer data platform, and very, very soon we're gonna start using those personalization techniques to personalize every single customer journey, because at the end of the day, our customers demand different products if they are going to the university in the morning or when they're in the lunch break. And we want to mimic those needs and only focus on what are the services that we can help them when they open the app at different time, different stages, different cities. So we want to start with CDP, allows us to get real-time 360 degrees of every single customers. We can know what are the channels they're using, how they're moving the money, what are the services that are likely that they're going to be using now, and we're going to start providing these insights. I think banking users are not different than any other users. I think banks have made very little to improve that customer experience. We wanted to change that. That's why we have our biggest team, a part of product is our data science and our customer experience team. Our first hire was a psychologist because we wanted to understand what are the needs of our customers, and that's how we start everything in TNEX. We start with what are the customer pain points, how we can help them, and then we develop the product. When most of the traditional way of thinking here is, I have this product and I'm gonna sell it to the customers. No, customers they demand another thing, and they are now using and comparing their experience across multiple apps, and they're looking at, and this is my bank. Wow, this is bad, and this is why the interaction, the engagement is really bad. And that's why if new banks they want to succeed here, they need to rethink about ecosystems, about creating platforms, developing personalized experience, and that's why you need to complete the mindset in terms of culture, in terms of team structure, in terms of technology, strategy, everything, business model. You need to realize that customers now are requesting and expecting to have a phenomenal customer experience, and no matter if it's a banking or the chatting or the buying things online, they expect the customers to be personalized. And forget about segments, forget about clusters, personas, groups. It doesn't matter. We want to build a bank for each of our customers, and develop that personalization for everything that they do with us.
Yeah, I love the idea of everybody wants to feel special, and that's certainly the case. You listed some of the things that kind of enable that, the right business models, the right approach. And one of the key things is talent. And I think, across the fintech space, I look at the situation here in Singapore, and I was told that there were, in 2021, 25,000 developer jobs, of which there were 2,500 graduates from Singaporean universities. So the talent shortage is really acute in, I think, Southeast Asia in general. How does TNEX approach attracting and retaining the right talent to enable this engagement with customers?
So it has been very, very challenging, as you mentioned. Talent is a scarcity everywhere, and Vietnam is not an exception. But we approach in the same way we approach with our customers. We're trying to do something different, and we're trying to build an internal culture that is very different than any other bank or fintech in Vietnam. We wanted to get rid of command and control. We want to develop our teams. We wanted to give them the freedom. We want them to being accountable and responsible for everything that they do. We give them the tools. We give them the system, and one thing that we give them a safety net. For failure. Some of them they will say failure, some of them they will say people. It doesn't matter. People, they want to grow, and the only way to grow is to try, test, fail, and understand that we're gonna have up and downs. And only if you give your team the ability to have that experience where they are trying and they taking their own decisions, they're gonna feel appreciated. We cannot. In this hot market, we cannot win with all the banks, offering crazy money. So what we are doing is, what are the things that that matter for our customers? Our values align what they wanted to do. Because of our flat structure, we have a lot of room for our employees to develop and to have their own professional career within TNEX. The current chief product officer started as a product owner just 2 years ago. So we have a very flat structure where we want our teams to grow and to develop themselves. And of course, it has been very hard and for us. But in the last, and despite everything, especially after summer last year, when everything was a lockdown in Vietnam, we managed and we hired a lot of new talent, and we have seen when you and your employees share the same values. It's very easy for them to convince that it's not all about the money, because if they want to look for all the opportunities in the market, it's great. But we wanted to build this structure where they can grow, they can work from home, they have all the tools that they need. They can see the development in just a few months, because that's the beauty of a startup. You're gonna be doing a lot of things that are not in your job description, and that's the way for them to grow and stay with us.
Yeah, and I'm sure that's kind of a different environment for many of them. When you look at some of the kind of the traditional organizations and traditional banks, that's just not the way that they're organized or they're structured in this way. I mean, talking about competition for a minute, obviously you talked about the differentiation between the traditional banks and kind of new entrants, both in terms of digital banks and other players in the Vietnamese market. I mean, what have you seen as being the key trends around some of the competition that you've seen in the market?
So one thing, it was, I think it was the kind of the starting point for neobanks in Vietnam. It was when eKYC was open or was live. The regulation was live, 1 year and a half ago. It kind of kicked off things. We have seen, and what we said, we congratulate our digital competitors, Timo, Cake, Ubank, and Momo, all the other players that are in the market, because we are not fighting for the same type of customers. We just want to make the pie bigger. With 69% of the population in Vietnam without a bank account, the market, we are not fighting for the 31st, that most of the traditional banks have already covered. We wanted to focus on all those ones that have been left out and improve, and this is, what the ability to use cloud, to use, composable banking like Mambu, that you can, we were able to start and launch the bank within 9 months, that it's unheard of. And when you have cloud that allows to scale and to have 0 customers and then 500,000 customers within 2 months, and most of the services are growing at 5 or 10% every month, you need to have a different technology setup. And also we see that suddenly, investors are looking at Vietnam and they're looking at the potential. As I said before, it's a country with almost 100 million population, almost 70% without a bank account. Wow, this market is huge. We have seen, the salaries are growing, the GDP is growing, they have been growing. Even last year, or the last 2 years, despite COVID, we have seen the GDP is growing. The middle class is just exploding. We're gonna see in Southeast Asia, we're gonna have 1 billion populations to become middle class from 2010 to 2030. So we have seen that a dramatic change in Southeast Asia as society, where we have ultra rich and everyone else was, poor or living, with just a few dollars. We have seen these dramatic change in the last few years, and we have seen why the regulators are very open-minded to listen. And this has been in Indonesia, Malaysia, Hong Kong, Singapore, to improve. Okay, let's have more banks. And let's help them to attract new customers, because now with just a phone you can get any customers, regardless if you're in the mountains of Sapa or you are in the coast of Phu Quoc. You can do and open a bank account in just 5 minutes. So I guess it's a combination of busy money, seeing the opportunity, what the regulators are doing, and a new wave of digital talent, international and local talent that they've been pushing. And we have seen that Vietnam is now number 3 in terms of funding activity in the last 12 months. We have seen how so local talents are coming back from other regions. They are setting up their startups. They wanted to do from e-commerce to payments to lending, banking. We have seen a dramatic change in the way that startup founders have seen Vietnam and have set Vietnam as the home town.
That's great. Thanks for that. And just kind of looking ahead, I mean, obviously one of the things that has occupied not just the Singapore FinTech Festival last year, but the minds of many bankers across the region are things like DeFi, Web 3.0, and the Metaverse. Is this something that TNEX has been looking at? I mean, do you see it as being an opportunity for the organization and for banking in Vietnam as a whole, or is it more of a risk?
No, we are very open. We are technology driven, and we check what's going on in the market. We check the latest. We're very open and reviewing what are the latest advancements on Web3, Metaverse. All of us, we have seen NFTs. And we have seen, we are exploring ways of how we can participate in this creator economy, where everyone can participate in a very different way. That Web2, it's not about creating platform, but creating ecosystem where everyone is a participant and an actor at the same time. And there is both ways of receiving money. We see that many of our Vietnamese people, they are interested in cryptocurrencies, their own NFTs, and we're watching and reviewing what are the abilities and what are the regulation can let us do it. We have seen why the SVP and other local authorities, they looking at ways of regulate this, and we are willing and exploring things of what we can do and we can offer to our customers to participate in this a revolution that is coming, whether many of them like it or not. This Web3, this creator economy, these new ways of participate, nor not only benefit some platforms, but becoming an active role. And we have seen, why our customers are very interested, and we're going to be working on towards that.
Yeah, certainly Vietnam is at the center of a lot of the activity that we've seen around this space in Asia. David, thank you so much for your time. This has been a great conversation. I could speak for hours on this topic, but thank you for taking the time with us today.
It was a pleasure to meet you and have some time, Zen. Thank you very much for the opportunity.